Committee to order at 10:07. Roll call, please.
Markham.
Here.
Kuhn is absent with notice, and Nelson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. Next up, we're going to do the approval of the minutes. I know Megan graciously sent out an email here just moments ago in regards to our last meeting, which was on September 20th of 2019. Are there any corrections to the minutes on the previous meeting? If not, we need a motion to approve the minutes of the September 20th, 2019 Invasive Species Special Committee.
Move to approve.
Motion by Markham and support by myself. Any discussion of the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Excellent, motion carried. Next up, we'll do the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or corrections to the agenda? All righty, seeing none, we need a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Markham, support by myself. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Alrighty, next up, we'll move on to our public comment portion. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the Invasive Species Special Committee?
Currently, we can open it up to the callers. We don't have a separate line. Today, it's the callers that are on directly. We can open it up for anyone that would like to participate in the meeting on public comment.
Is there anyone who wishes to address the Invasive Species Special Committee? Alrighty, seeing none, I will close.
Sorry, before you close, there's one online submission too.
Oh, excellent.
That I could read in. It comes from Jody Bennett. She says that phragmites are drying up our lakes, in particular Twin Lakes in Oakland Township. What's the county doing about the lake phragmites? Thank you, Jody. She didn't list the county, but that was the end of the online submissions.
Excellent, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the Invasive Species Special Committee? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Thank you for sharing the email submission.
You're welcome.
Alrighty, next up, we'll move on to the regular agenda. The first item on our agenda will be an update from Road Commission in regards to their efforts to control invasive Phragmites plants along our roadsides. We need a motion. Moved by Markham, seconded by myself.
Commissioner Nelson?
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is informational, you don't need a motion for this one since they're just sharing information.
Got it. Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome.
Is Sarah with us this morning?
Yes, hi.
Good morning, Sarah.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for being a part of this meeting this morning.
Sure. So I guess you guys are looking for more information about the roadside treatments that Road Commission is providing via the SISMA, is that correct?
Yes. We had a few commissioners just kind of inquire about the process and what exactly is in the chemicals used to spray the Phragmites on the roadway.
Sure. So for the past 5 years, the Road Commission of Oakland County has been providing funding to the Oakland County SISMA to treat roadside Phragmites. The SISMA surveys roadside Phragmites, prioritizes treatments, and then works with county-approved contractors to complete the treatments. The contractors work in 3 general zones. The 3 county contractors that can perform the services are given equal treatment zones, if you will. So all 3 of them are doing different treatments. But this year, we're doing pretty much all of the roads that we have surveyed, and all of the Road Commission roads are getting some form of survey or treatment. Chemicals that they use are, they can use glyphosate or a combination of glyphosate and imazapyr, which is the state recommended chemical concentration and recommended by the Phragmites Collaborative, which is Oh.
Sarah, can you speak a little slower? I did not catch the name of the chemicals. I'm just, your sound isn't fabulous, so.
okay. Sure, no problem. Yeah. So the chemicals that we use are glyphosate and a combination of imazapyr. Those are recommended by the state, by Eagle. That's what's in their Phragmites treatment guide. And then the Great Lakes Phragmites Collaborative, which is a regional Phragmites treatment group, also recommends one of those two combinations for chemical treatments. So we're following regional best practices, and then Parks also advises SISMA on treatment practices, and they use the county approved contractors that Parks bids for that actual treatments themselves.
Commissioner Gershenson.
Well, thank you. Sarah, this is new information for me, so I may ask you to repeat a few things, but
Yeah, please.
these chemicals that are being used are carcinogens, correct?
They are not, there's no direct health link between those chemicals and cancer in humans.
Could I ask you to send me, I can't follow the names that you're saying. Could I ask you to send an email with the names and the correct spelling?
Yep, no problem. And I can also send you some of the scientific articles that we have about the chemicals if you'd like to see some of that as well.
Well, no, I'm very, very much relieved that they're recommended by two other agencies. That makes me feel good. I had a lot of concern about toxic chemicals treating Phragmites and then going into the lake.
Yeah, so the articles that I would send you are from other scientific organizations studying the chemicals, not necessarily the recommendations, but the studies they've done about the toxicity of the chemicals is what I can send you.
And you're saying that the funding for this is coming from SISMA and it's not in the road commission budget, it's not in Parks budget, and it's not in our budget?
No, it's in the road commission budget. Road commission is providing the funding. SISMA just executes the contracts on behalf of road commission.
I see. And
Funds
what,
the treatments, and that's why they do the press releases and take public comments on it.
and how much is the road commission designating to this?
This year, they provided $25,000.
And then you're contracting with SISMA to administer the.
Yeah, so SISMA administers the program on behalf of the road commission. So Parks is only involved because I work for Parks. So Parks is involved because we sit on the executive committee of SISMA, and we also provide treatment guidance to SISMA.
And how much is the contract to SISMA?
So I don't know exactly how much they take in indirect funding, but they take, like, the SISMA takes very little, probably less than a few $1,000s.
Okay, well, you can get back to me on that. You can
Sure.
get back to me on that figure, no problem. Thank you.
It's been a very effective program, though. I mean, I'm sure that you guys remember that there was a Phragmites fire in Orion Township, and it's been a road safety concern for the road commission to make sure that Phragmites are out of the roadways. So it has been a very effective program, I think, from both the road commission standpoint and SISMA's standpoint to remove invasive species and to make the roadway safer. So I think road commission is pleased with the results that they've gotten out of the program.
Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Megan. Can you talk a little bit about what the application process is for the glyphosate? How do they apply it to the Phragmites?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a few different types of application that can be done. Because they're doing it in road right-of-ways, there usually aren't other high-quality plants in those right-of-ways. It's usually other invasive species or like turf grasses. The two ways that they do it is they either use backpack sprayers, they can use like a mounted sprayer, which is like a sprayer tank, or they would hand wick, which means that they, it's like kind of a complicated process. They could put a cotton glove on top of a latex glove, and then they put their hand essentially like in the chemical so that their hand is protected, but then they only touch the parts of the plant that they want to kill. So if it's a monoculture, meaning it's only Phragmites in the area, they would spray it with either the backpack sprayer or the sprayer tank. If it's an area where there's other high quality species, they would use the hand picking method. But like I said, in right of ways, there's rarely other quality native species, so they primarily do spraying. They also use aquatic safe herbicides, so glyphosate and imazapyr come in different formulations, and some of the formulations are approved for aquatic safe use, and those are the ones that they're using in the right of ways.
That's important. Thank you.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
this is Megan. I'm monitoring the chat on the side, and it looks like Commissioner Spiz has a question. He said, "Can the MSDS sheet of the chems be shared?" So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Megan. So, Sarah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll send you guys a bunch of resources. I can send MSDS. I'll send the treatment guide so you can just see the recommended practices. I'll send the information from Health Canada, which is about their study that they did on the impacts of glyphosate to human health. And I will send indirect information about how much money SISMA receives via the Road Commission funds. Was there anything else?
No, I think that would be great to send that information along. Although I do have a question, Sarah. So there are a lot of mixed, there's a lot of mixed literature in regards to the safety to humans and animals. And even one of the latest from the World Health Organization, the way that they classify glyphosate is that it's probably carcinogenic to humans. With that being said, are there signs that are posted for the public when spraying does take place? Because it sounds like there is mixed findings in regards to the glyphosate and humans and animals. Do we post signage to allow the public to know?
So MDARD, the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, very strictly regulates chemical applications. You can't apply chemical unless you're a licensed chemical applicator. So you have to take a test and you have to get a certification through the state. And then they also have strict posting. You have to post signs where you have treated chemicals that also provide the press release because they provide public notice that the treatments will be happening. And then signs also go up where they're actually doing the treatment. And within the parks, we do the same thing. We post signs within the parks whenever we do any kind of chemical application. I also just want to point out that invasive species treatments of chemicals are in extremely low concentrations compared to other chemical applicators. So when you hear about things like glyphosate being negatively impactful to human health, agricultural producers are spraying it in incredible quantities. They're spraying in millions and millions of gallons. We're spreading in the tens of gallons. We're spreading in very low quantities, very low doses, which I'm sure that doesn't allay some of your fears, but just so you know that the quantities that we're applying are incredibly small, and it is the best treatment option right now for the species that we have. So the other option would be not treating them, essentially.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. Commissioner Gershenson.
So how is it determined what areas are going to be treated? Because we keep hearing about Phragmites, and we just had a caller that called in about it. How is it determined what neighborhoods or what streets that you're going to go into? And this doesn't necessarily affect Phragmites that are already in a lake, for instance. This is just for roadside.
This is just for Road Commission right of way. So it's just roads that are maintained by the Road Commission for Oakland County. So it doesn't include a bunch of smaller roads that people in neighborhoods or subdivisions might have. It just includes the Road Commission right of ways. And those roadways are all surveyed by SISMA staff, by local officials. And we prioritize all of the survey data. We keep it in a program called ArcGIS that gives us like a digital geographic representation of all of the data. Then we prioritize that data, and then this year we had enough money to essentially treat almost all of the Phragmites along the Road Commission right away. So there is a lot more Phragmites in Oakland County than we're able to treat right now, either in lakes or along other types of roadways. But we are making great progress along the Road Commission right of ways.
So I guess the issue amongst commissioners would be discussed is whether or not you'd like to see an expansion of this program, and perhaps a different contract with another agency or SISMA or whatever. Because I do get the impression that this is still a major problem. So I understand that. I'm very happy the road commission is taking this on, but there's a lot more areas that need attention. So just something for commissioners to talk about, whether or not you'd like to initiate a program, maybe with parks, maybe with somebody, to hit more areas.
Yeah, I think that's a very insightful comment, that there's, quite a bit more Phragmites in the county that is worrisome. And we also have other invasive species in the county that are also, promoting this kind of potential problem within communities also. So Phragmites are, a very visible one that we're seeing, but we have other invasive species that are just as destructive as Phragmites that are also other problems. And I just want to remind everyone that the SISMA is a collaboration of the CVTs. So SISMA is not a separate nonprofit. It's not, it only exists as a collaboration between the CVTs and other nonprofit organizations. So right now, that is, in my mind, the best way to promote funding, because it gives equal voice to all of the CVTs, and it allows the CVTs to provide feedback on what's happening. So it's a great avenue, I think, for all of the local communities to communicate with each other, to talk about invasive species that are happening in their areas. And it's just a wonderful collaboration of the county, I think, together to work on these invasive species issues. Unfortunately, as you said, a lot of those CVTs don't have funding dedicated to this, but that is one of the goals of the SISMA right now that the CVTs have identified, is finding more stable funding sources, either through the Parks Millage or through the CVTs conservation funding, or potentially through the Board of Commissioners, if that's possible.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. Is there any other, Commissioner Markham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just think maybe there's a potential for a partnership program with the CVTs. I know out here in Novi, our landscape architect has worked with the county and is very familiar with, what's going on with SISMA. And I know there's been a lot of conversation, but I don't necessarily know that every CVT knows that we should be talking about this, or is aware that we could maybe be working together. There's no reason, communities that are next to each other can't be working together with the county to target a particular area. So I think we should have some discussion about, maybe a partnership program for invasives going forward.
Well, and I'll let Dan jump in here, but I think that the idea of the potential millage funding through parks to promote that kind of collaboration. So we already have, I think, over 40 CVTs as members in the SISMA. So we really do have a lot of representation via the SISMA. And I think with the proposal for parks to become the fiduciary and assume management of the SISMA, that it would promote that kind of collaboration regionally, right? It would bring the SISMA kind of under the county umbrella a little bit to promote those regional partnerships and to, as you're saying, Commissioner Markham, facilitate more of those treatments between communities, which I think is really important.
Well said, Sarah.
Excellent. Is there any other further discussion on item number 1 of the agenda? Commissioner Gershenson.
So I would just say that we should reconvene after the successful passing of the Parks Millage and look at this again and make sure that we have a plan going forward. This is certainly something we could engage our local CVTs in. But at this time, thank you for reminding me, Sarah, that this is a piece of the millage and a very important part. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, we
Commissioner
really
Nelson?
appreciate your support. So thank you very much for being interested in this and for, continuing to follow up on it. We definitely appreciate it.
So was that Megan?
Yes, I apologize. I just wanted to bring to your attention in the chat, Commissioner Spitz had made another statement. Just wanted to make sure that you all saw it.
So HOAs, lake associations, and lake boards contract with vendors to treat Phragmites within these areas. So Commissioner Spiz, were you asking? Were you just sharing?
I was just sharing. I think most of us sit on Lake Board somewhere and we all deal with invasive species within the lakes. And a lot of the lakes have Phragmites around them, so that is part of the invasive species. Not all of them do it, but
Sure. And I do recall
correct.
Commissioner Markham, myself, and Commissioner Kuhn, one of the very early meetings of the Invasive Species Committee, we did work with SISMA to develop a letter that we sent out to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Markham, to our CVTs and HOAs and lake associations in regards to getting them information about being a part of SISMA in regards to, I think more specifically, it was Phragmites. Am I forgetting anything, Commissioner Markham?
No, that's the way I remember it.
Yeah, but I definitely, from just hearing what we've heard today and just knowing that a lot of the conversations that we have been hearing are related to Phragmites, I definitely think it would be a great idea, as Commissioner Gershenson asked, to have a follow-up meeting after the successful passage of our parks millage. And yes, not every lake has a lake board. You are correct, Commissioner Gershenson. Is there any other?
Another member of our SISMA Executive Committee, Ryan Dividoc from Economic Development, is on the line. Ryan, do you have anything to add about SISMA or about economic development's involvement in SISMA, I guess, before we move off this topic? If you're talking, we can't hear you.
Maybe send him a message in the chat room and we can come back to him. Oh yeah, his mic is not working. Yep.
Well, I just wanted to point out that economic development has been a great partner in this, and combining the county agencies has really been an important part of the SISMA, as well as getting Road Commission involved, Water Resources Commission, Economic Development, Parks, making sure that we're all collaborating on the same page and on the same page as the CBTs has been a big part of the SISMA. So I'm sure that Ryan would say the same if we could hear him via his mic right now.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Sarah. Is there any other discussion or further questions on item number 1 of the agenda? All righty, seeing none. Thank you so much, Sarah, for giving us an update. And I definitely look forward to having more conversations after the successful passage of our parks millage. So thank you so much. Moving on to our next agenda item, number 2, is an update on the Clean, Drain, Dry, and Dispose boat cleaning initiative. And I'm gonna throw this over to Sarah to give us an update and bring us up to speed.
Yeah, I'm really talking a lot in this meeting, so apologies if you get sick of me. I would like to share something on the screen if possible. Is whoever is the organizer of the meeting, could you allow me screen sharing if possible? If not, it's not.
Yes, we can. That's not a problem. Give me one moment.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
So just to begin the update, we do not have the boat cleaning stations yet. CD3 is still manufacturing them, but they thought they could be here this week. They're clearly not here this week, so we're hopeful that next week they will be available.
Sarah, you should be able to use your screen now to share your screen.
Okay.
I made you a.
Awesome. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yes, we
And-
can see that.
Oh, great. So the boat wash stations will hopefully be delivered next week at this point. We're very excited for them to get here and test them to see how they work. Our tentative plan right now is, I will just go over the high level details, is to do a small pilot program this year. So we are working with the Cass Lake Boat Launch at Dodge No. 4 State Park to station one of the boat launch stations there for the end of September and beginning of October of this year. The other boat wash station would go into one of the county parks for this year, and we would do a small media event at the end of this month to celebrate the delivery of the stations with the Board of Commissioners, the Parks Board, some of the Waterford Township officials, DNR officials, and some local media, but not the general public just because of COVID concerns. So we would do a small pilot, the stations would go out, we would do a small media event, and then we would winterize them over the winter in October. Then over the winter, we would develop a more robust plan for their dispersal next year. So we would convene a working group of local partners, which would include people like DNR, the Huron-Clinton Metro Parks Authority, the local watershed councils, economic development, the SISMA, the Water Resources Commission, lots of those local groups that are already involved in invasive species related issues to determine the best locations for the boat wash stations to go and to work on regional messaging that everyone buys into. All of that information would be brought back to the committee to see before we finalized it. And then the committee would also approve the locations for the boat wash stations for summer 2021. We'd also like to plan another media event Memorial Day of next year to launch their real full use for the season. And at that time, we would have a bunch of educational and outreach materials created. So we would have a flyer, and then we would also have the promotional materials like we're thinking something like a floating key ring or a Frisbee or something that boaters would be interested in, with the branding from the Board of Commissioners and talking about invasive species available at the same time. That's kind of a overview, and hopefully you guys can see my screen enough to see more of the details, but you know, feel free to ask questions or provide suggestions, I guess, at this point on the tentative plan.
Commissioner Gershenson.
Thank you. Sarah, can you also be sure we all have a copy of this?
Yes, absolutely. When I send out the herbicide information, I'll also send this plan.
Great. So my question is, I think you said these are movable stations, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so they're not going to be out in the winter because unfortunately we're heading into the colder months now. So after the opening and everything, they will be removed and stored so that they're not damaged from the winter snow and ice. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Because they do have water tanks in them because they have vacuums. So we have to winterize them to make sure that the water tanks wouldn't freeze, obviously. We're anticipating bringing them back to parks and winterizing them probably the second week of October. And then we would send them out again Memorial Day weekend. So next year they would be out Memorial Day to Labor Day.
And then where are they stored in, for Commissioner Spiz's question, where will they be stored?
They'll be stored here at parks, here at our Parks Administration office.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we started looking at these, almost a couple of years ago now, one of the events that tends to promote or spread invasive species lake to lake are these fishing tournaments where boats come from one area to another. And I've talked to the gentleman who runs the big fishing tournament on Walled Lake. He is absolutely willing to have a boat washing station there as they put boats into the water to be part of this tournament. And I'm wondering if there will be a process by which an organization such as that group can request the boat washing station in advance through the county. Will there be a form, or will there be a button on the website, or what?
So our plan right now is to convene that working group of partners who would help determine the locations, but I think we could certainly target some of the local fishing groups and potentially some of the people who are organized the fishing tournaments to sit on that working group with us to help make sure that we're timing them to match up with the fishing tournaments. But I think we'd like to have them, we'd like to have the schedule figured out this winter. So if you have that contact information, that would be great. We can invite them to join the working group. And we can also ask our other local partners, like the watershed councils and some of the township officials, to get us in touch with other people that they work with for fishing tournaments as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, I know that the boat stations can be stored inside and outside. Commissioner Spiz would like to know, are we going to be storing these units here in Oakland County inside or outside?
We're planning to store them outside in a covered location. We just don't have enough indoor storage to keep them inside. But the manufacturers have said that it's fine to store them outdoors. But we
Yep.
thought it would be wise to at least put them in a covered location.
Excellent, thank you. Is there any other further questions so far? Seeing none. Sarah, is there more information to cover or was that about it? I think
that's about it. I think the only questions that I have are, assuming that you guys think that this plan is reasonable, is when you would like us to check in with you and how you would like us to check in with you to provide reports or to provide updates. So I guess you can either, discuss it or get back to us or however works for you. But I think we just want to know when you want more information from us and how.
absolutely. Well, first and foremost, Sarah, I want to thank you for bringing us up to date with where we are with these mobile boat cleaning stations. I mean, the hard work that has gone into this is just incredible, and we appreciate the work that Oakland County Parks and Rec and staff have done to get this project underway. As you said, as the day-to-day administrators of these boat cleaning stations, the Invasive Species Committee is very appreciative of this partnership, and it is also our expectation that this partnership continues to be a collaborative effort, and that the Parks and Rec Commission will continue to consult with the Invasive Species Committee regarding this initiative. This is an exciting time, as Commissioner Markham kind of said earlier. Here about a year and a half ago, Commissioner Markham and I attended the Michigan Lake Stewardship Association annual conference, and it was there that we saw the mobile boat cleaning station demonstrations. And when we saw these solar powered mobile boat cleaning stations, both of us knew that this would be a great addition to Oakland County. So with that being said, I just want to highlight and thank everybody for their hard work and collaboration and coordination throughout the past year and a half. We really couldn't have done this in one entity. And I also want to just give a big gracious shout out to our BOC staff. Our analysts have done an amazing job supporting this process along the way as well. And I also want to give a gracious thank you to Mr. Stencil for partnering with us here in this committee. So with what you were asking initially, Sarah, in regards to updates, one of the things I know that we had previously discussed was taking a look at doing quarterly reports. And one of the things I'd like to request that's detailed within these quarterly reports is obviously a little data summary. As we've previously discussed in meetings regarding these boat cleaning stations, that the cool thing with these is that they do have a data component. How many people are utilizing the stations, and in addition to, specifically to the tools that are attached and things like that. So one of the things I'd like to request within these quarterly reports is making sure that we do get an update on the data that has been configured with the usage. And is there any other components that commissioners would like to see in this brief report? Commissioner Gershenson.
Well, no, I think that you've covered it. And I just want to say, as a commissioner who's not on this committee, but who has been, who's an avid lake supporter and lives on a lake, how much I appreciate the leadership of Kristen and Gwen and Tom Kuhn on this committee, because this is actually taking some action to try to reduce the amount of invasive species that are coming in from boats, as we know is a issue. I think this is just a great effort, and I'm really proud of our team, and really always appreciate the partnership with Dan Stencil and the parks. He's always been there for many of the initiatives I've worked on, and I really appreciate it. So I just wanted to say thank you to you all. You did a great job.
Excellent. Thank you. Is there any other questions, comments on this item of the agenda?
Commissioner, did you want to do a motion to receive and file this document?
Oh, yes. Can I get a motion to receive and file this document? Motion by Markham, support by myself. Thank you.
Thank
Ooh. Oh, my screen went a little crazy. Sorry. Thank you again, Sarah, for giving us an update. And I look forward to working with you and the Parks and Rec Department as we move forward with this. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. We do too.
All righty, next up on our agenda, it's like they have 5 different devices I'm using here. Next up, we have our Native Plant Initiative. So, Megan,
Yes.
because we're going to be taking a vote on this,
Yep.
I need to get a motion, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm a little rusty. Motion by Markham, support by myself. Thank you. Alrighty, so Miss Amy, thank you so much. Before Amy gives us a little update, I'd just like to say that within this initiative, in order to fulfill certain statutory and legal requirements, the Oakland County Parks and Rec Commission and staff have joined this effort of the Native Planet Initiative. And again, we greatly appreciate the support, partnership, and collaboration with our Parks and Rec Department. And I also have to give a tremendous shout out to the Sierra Club. Andrew, what was that? Is it my feedback?
Go ahead. It was just feedback. It was just feedback, Commissioner.
Thank you, Megan. As I was saying, I want to give a gracious shout out to Andrew Sarpolis of the Sierra Club, because with his support and collaboration with other organizations such as the Rochester Pollinators, we got to put together a really amazing plan. And one of the biggest components with this Native Plant Initiative was making sure that we had an opportunity to give people across Oakland County the opportunity to utilize native plants within their own yards. And as we all know, with some of the other initiatives that we've been working on, there can be some tricky legality processes that we have to make sure that we abide by in regards to giving residents materials. And in this case, the materials are native plants. And I am super excited to have Amy update us and share with us where we are with that. But again, I want to give a gracious thank you to our Parks and Rec Commission, and in addition to the Sierra Club and Rochester Pollinators for really making this happen.
So I emailed out just before the meeting a copy of the plan. If everybody did not receive that, I can go ahead and put that up on the screen, if you guys would prefer. Did everybody get it?
Yes.
Okay. So we started off with the plan, and I want to let you know this plan is not down to the fine details. We're giving you guys a very broad plan so you can see what we're working on. Because of the short time frame, we are still working out some of the finer details. So this will give you guys an overview of everything we're working on and what to expect moving forward. So as you know, in June 2020, the Board of Commissioners approved a resolution authorizing the Native Plants Initiative. The goals of this initiative are to bring awareness to how vital and beneficial native plants are to our ecosystem and promote the planting and preservation of native plants in Oakland County. So we worked with the purchasing unit as well as the Parks and Recreation Department going through available vendors that provide native plants in the state of Michigan. And we've settled on Wild Type Nursery, which is already an approved vendor. Should they run low on any inventory, there are several other vendors that the county has pre-existing contracts with. So Sarah Cook Malin with Parks Department has been working closely with us to finalize the kits that will be provided to everybody. So originally, it was thought that we might have to go out for a request for proposals in order to obtain the plants. We do not have to do that at this time after discovering that the county has a number of so because of the lateness of the year, we're proposing just a fall 2020 pilot program. So this will be a smaller scaled back program. Based on how that goes, we will be able to, next year in the spring, there will be more available inventory. So we'll be able to look at a slightly larger program. So for the fall, what we're proposing currently is going to be a single centralized location for one day. This is based kind of on the availability of inventory in the kits. We're proposing to utilize the Oakland County Farmers Market in Waterford, which is a nice central location for everybody in the county. And that allows us to also continue to utilize that relationship with the Parks Department. So we'll be developing kits. A resident will be able to pick up a kit at no charge. A kit will be a collection of approximately 20 to 30 plants, and these plants have been specially picked for being native in Michigan, and the large majority of them are also native to Oakland County specifically. So we are partnering with Parks and Recreation Department, as I mentioned. This allows us to utilize the existing infrastructure, the staff that have expertise in the local ecology, to help develop, like I mentioned, the kits, as well as some of the educational materials that we're going to discuss in a moment. And then, as Commissioner Nelson mentioned, we've also been working with the Sierra Club, who developed a working group. They've been able to help put together the original basis of the kits. They did a lot of research. They provided us a lot of information. If we need volunteers, they've offered their assistance. So they really kind of helped get the momentum going behind this. And then so we've been able to put this together. So as mentioned, one of the project goals of this initiative is to bring awareness to show how vital and beneficial native plants are to our ecosystem. So we'll be developing educational materials. We're going to be working with the Parks Department to utilize a lot of the existing resources that are already out there that we can then co-brand. And then one of the things that we're required to do, I have in here, is under the Michigan Constitution, we're not allowed to just give away a product. So we're required to take some sort of consideration. So working with Corporation Counsel, we've been able to determine that the consideration is going to be a pledge. So in exchange for the plants, a resident will commit to planting and preserving their native plant garden. So they'll be required to show a proof of residency and then sign a pledge of volunteerism for services to plant and maintain the native plant kit within Oakland County. And that satisfies our legal requirements. And then if we need any additional materials developed for education purposes, such as to be able to send home with the resident about how to maintain their new garden, we'll be able to provide that information as well. We do have some existing contracts that we can utilize. The budget funds have been authorized in an amount not to exceed $32,000. So we're anticipating the expenses to include the kit inventory, kit assembly, kit delivery, the educational and the pledge materials. And then as we identify additional expenses, those will be added. We're not anticipating going over budget for this small fall pilot project. So the native plant kits that we'll be offering to the public, there will be up to 2 pre-assembled kits available. The Sierra Club helped break this down into a sun kit and a rain garden kit based on different soil types, different needs, because not every homeowner has the same conditions. And then, so a resident will be able to select a kit. They will not be able to customize their kit. They will be a predetermined for ease selection. So there'll be information on what each kit contains, as well as the type of soil and the recommendations, so that they can plan ahead and determine which one is best for their property. The kits are hardy perennials. They are recommended for beginners and casual gardeners, so they should be pretty easy. And it's a good way to encourage people who don't already have native gardens to get involved. So this will help increase the number of native gardens within the county. Is our goal. So as I mentioned, each kit contains plants native to Michigan. Sarah Cook-Malin's been helping us also make sure that the majority of these plants are also native specifically to Oakland County. So I do have in the plan, you can see a sample of a sun kit, and there's a sample of a rain garden kit. Many of the plants, again, being native to the state, work for multiple soil conditions, and this is one of the benefits of having native plants. They're adapted to the various conditions around the state. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues, we have put together the COVID-19 safety protocol. This protocol is very similar to the 20,000 Oaks plan, where we will be able to utilize a drive-through method at the farmers market. So residents can stay in their vehicle. Volunteers will approach the vehicle. We'll make sure we collect the pledge from each resident. We will provide them their kits, and they'll be able to load them into their car and drive away. We'll provide PPE for all of the volunteers. And we're looking at, based on the 20,000 Oaks plan, which was approximately 6 volunteers. I just rounded up to a slightly larger number to cover all bases. We're anticipating 10 or less in-person staff or volunteers. And to manage the volunteers, we'll be able to utilize the volunteer coordinator within the Parks Department as well, to make sure we register all volunteers appropriately and collect waivers that are required by the county as well. So that is the plan in a nutshell. We're looking at doing this possibly within the next 4 weeks. I did find out last night that October 3rd, the city of Madison Heights is hosting their own native plant sale. So we may try to work around that to make sure that we're not doing that on the same day. So we're working with Wild Type. Once we confirm final inventory and lock that in, we'll be able to identify the best date available to do that, as well as with the schedule with the farmers market. So if anybody has any questions, Andrea and myself are available. Sarah's here as well. You're muted, Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much, Amy, for giving us an update on the plan. Again, I appreciate the hard work that you and Andrea and Barbara have put into this in our Parks and Rec department. And as I said, the Sierra Club and the Rochester Pollinators. So thank you so much for the time and effort that you've put into this as well. Commissioner Markham, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I actually have several. How many kits do we think we're going to be able to put together?
We're still working on that. Inventory changes daily with Wild Type. Some of the plants I know currently they have maybe 60 left, and with a kit using approximately 2 to 3 plants, we're working on that, which is why some of the kits may vary. We're still working on that. I'm not confident the number is going to be very high, which is why we're proposing the single location in a single day. But we are actively working with them. Sarah's been in contact with Wild Type as of yesterday, and we're trying to lock that in within maybe by the end of today or next week. It's complicated when you're constantly mixing and matching to be able to build up a kit, and with inventory changing on a fairly regular basis. So I don't have a clear answer for that.
Okay, well, with that in mind, then, are people going to pre-order? I'd hate to have 400 cars show up at the farmer's market looking for a kit and have 30 kits. So should we have a pre-order kind of process, or how are we publicizing this, I guess?
So the fine details for that we're still working out. We have discussed pre-orders. This is why we kind of have a slightly more general plan presented before you. These are some of the details we're still working out. We have been looking at a pre-order, but also being prepared should somebody show up that doesn't have a pre-order, to see if that's something we can still accommodate. It's really kind of dependent on the number of kits that we get. So once we finalize the number of kits that are available, we are going to be able to finalize that process if we do the pre-order. Our concern was with this short time frame that we have, being able to set up anything online that might need to be done online. But we will be promoting using typical social media channels and everything.
Okay. You have these two different styles of gardens. In the material that's going to be provided with the plants, are there any suggestions on how to design these gardens? Because some of these plants are tall and some of these plants are short, and if you don't know or haven't done a garden design before, it's helpful to have somebody help you with that. So I'm wondering if there's any suggested designs being handed out too.
Yes. So in addition to the pledge to maintain their garden, to support native plants in the state, everybody that receives a kit will be able to go home with educational materials for, I'm hoping to put together 1 or 2 plans based on the kit designs. We did discuss that with the Sierra Club. Some of these are very large, bushy kind of plants. So we might be able to put together 1 or 2 plant designs based on what's in the kit for recommendations. But we are planning on working on making all of these educational materials to arm the person with information when they take their kit home, so that they're not left going, I don't know what to do with this. It was free. I'm just going to throw it in the compost. This was too much for me. We want to avoid that. We're going to do everything we can to encourage the resident to be prepared ahead of time by knowing, do I need a rain kit? Do I need a sun kit? Making that information available, as well as how to plant them in a optimal arrangement. I know I've done that in my garden, where suddenly I have some short plants behind the tall plants, and I was like, oh, oops. So.
Well, that's my last question. I just want to add my own comments. I tore out half of my lot back in 2017 and planted all natives in it. And the first year after that, it looked pretty low, you know, everything popped up, but there wasn't really a lot of beauty to it. And my husband actually said it looks like a bomb went off out here. But every year it just really filled in and it's beautiful. And I'm telling you, I have hummingbirds, all kinds of butterflies, all kinds of dragonflies, stuff we never saw in our neighborhoods before. My neighbor behind us said, I'm seeing these black wasps I've never seen before. Well, that's right, because they're a pollinator for one of the plants in my garden. And they don't harm anybody. They stay away from humans. But, you know, we have lots more pollinators, lots more fireflies, lots more everything because we've put native plants in what is really a very small area out in the middle of a subdivision in Novi. So it can be really successful and do a lot in a short period of time.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Markham. I just also want to say, I know that you kind of had alluded to the quantity. And Amy, correct me if I'm wrong. One of the things that we did talk about here a couple of weeks ago in regards to looking at how many kits. Obviously, as you've already heard, the fall sale and the fall plant initiative is going to be on a smaller scale, right? And then in the springtime, it's going to be our bigger. One of the things that when we talked about the quantity, we're looking at least a couple hundred at minimum for the fall. So I know that we had discussions back and forth in regards to, is that more than 500, less than 500, or around 500? And I think with this fall initiative, it's going to be around probably about 500-ish. Amy, is that still safe to say? Because I know the inventory on these plants gets smaller and smaller and smaller as every day goes by.
I do not believe there is enough inventory for that number of kits. We did already cut the kit size down to be able to increase the quantity of kits and to make them smaller and a little more manageable as well for the resident. Inventory this late in this, I mean, the season ends in just a couple weeks, so inventory is pretty low. We are, like I said, we're doing our best. We've been actively talking to Wild Type to be able to lock in what's left and to maximize the number of kits we can do, which is why you have a sample. Not all kits are probably going to be a clear 50-50. Some of them might have these 10 plants and the other might have some different 10 plants. It might be maybe around 100 kits. Which is why we're looking at a smaller event. But it's still 100 kits, which is, you know, better than no kits going out. And those plants are gonna, fall is actually a great time to plant these plants because come spring, they're gonna, you know, they might be small in the fall, but come spring, they're gonna blossom and they'll look really good. And hopefully that'll encourage people to come back again in the spring. So this is really just kind of a small pilot program, and then come spring we should be able to utilize the remainder of funding and do something larger.
Excellent, thank you. Is there any other questions? Anything up for discussion with this agenda item? Okay. Seeing none, I'd like to get a motion to adopt the 2020 Oakland County Native Plant Initiative Plan. Markham, and support by myself. And then roll call, Megan?
Yes. On the motion to adopt the 2020 Oakland County Native Plants Initiative Plan, Markham,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
motion carries.
Excellent, thank you so much. Can I also get a motion to receive and file the Native Plant Initiative document that Amy kind of went over? Support by Markham. Second by myself. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Well, before we go, I definitely want to give another thank you for everybody who attended the meeting today and all the work that has gone on behind the scenes to make these two initiatives possible. Before we leave, I just want to share, Kristen had shared that there is North Oakland Headwaters Land Conservancy is doing a native plant sale at the Neiman's parking lot on Dixie in Clarkston this weekend. So, did I lose you guys? Oh, there you are. I still am having trouble maneuvering all these buttons and screens. So with that being said, get your native plants on this weekend if possible. And a gracious thank you for everyone in their time today. So thank you so much. If there's no other questions, I would like to call this meeting over at 11:06 a.m.
Woohoo!